West Yorkshire Police professional standards are looking into a complaint made by a YouTuber after an arrest. News Now Yorkshire was flying his drone around Ossett Police Station, an area without flight restrictions, I might add. Police say they had reports of a man behaving suspiciously, although I would question this, as it seems the police officer turns up unawares of what's happening, as when he arrives he stops and asks News Now Yorkshire what he is doing, without even exiting his meat wagon. News Now Yorkshire was at the time still operating his drone in the air when the fat porker gets out of his meat wagon and continues asking what he's doing. The police continue to ask what he's doing before ordering him to land the aircraft. News Now Yorkshire explains that he is filming and that the constable is endangering the activity, to which Plod says, "I can't have you doing that, bring it down." He then says, "Just bring it down or else I'll just take your device off you." News Now Yorkshire then says that he will land the aircraft but needed to wait until the road was clear, as it was not safe to land with the vehicles passing. The police constable shouted at him to bring it down again, even after this explanation. In the video you can hear the cop on his radio to control telling them that he is filming with a drone over the police station. Again, I reiterate, there is no flight restrictions over the police station. As News Now Yorkshire lands the drone and walks towards it to pick it up, the fat porker immediately assaults him and puts handcuffs on him, telling him that he's being detained for terrorist offences. Bearing in mind that Section 43 only allows a police constable to stop and search a person whom he reasonably suspects to be a terrorist to discover whether he has in his possession anything which may constitute evidence that he is a terrorist, or under Section 41 of the same Act, searching a person who's been arrested under suspicion of terrorism-related activities. The constable takes News Now Yorkshire to the back of the police van and sits him in it, all the while holding on to the handcuffs, even though he was restrained. News Now Yorkshire asks the constable if he is under arrest, to which the police constable replies, "You're being detained at the moment." You then hear him on his radio explaining he is outside the police station and has detained a male filming with a drone, which contradicts the claim made by police previously that reports had been made. He explains to the constable that he is filming the police working, but the police constable then explains that the police are under high risk of people targeting the police, which, as we all know, is bullshit. He continues to try to persuade News Now Yorkshire that they are targeted by saying, "So you don't watch the news then? Police stations and police officers get attacked all the time. Might I suggest if you stop attacking the public, you might not break a nail and claim assault. Then we'll see that statistic drop." News Now Yorkshire asks what offence he has committed, to which the police constable says, "I don't know yet." He then explains to another police constable that he gets paid by Google for his videos by making them and uploading them to YouTube, which is technically correct. One of the constables then explains how he should give his details so they can run some checks to establish he isn't committing an offence, when in reality this is not what they do. They are trying to establish if you are committing an offence or not, and if not, what offences they can make up on the spot to make an arrest. I think Section 43 of the Terrorism Act is on page 1 of the Copsplaining and How to Get Away with Assault Handbook for Dummies. For some 10 to 15 minutes during the whole interaction, there is no exchange of words between News Now Yorkshire and the police, but the police goes on to ask about the drone licence and whether he has one, to which he replies, "Yes, I do." The police constable says, "So what, you're telling me if I were to let you go, you're just going to continue filming with the drone? Is that what you're telling me?" News Now Yorkshire replies, "That was my plan, yeah." Now, why would a police constable with a detainee suspected of terrorism-related offences ask what the detainee would do if he were to let him go? If it looks like bullshit and smells like bullshit, you know the rest. The detaining constable then tells News Now Yorkshire that, at the very least, he is breaching the peace because there are members of the public that potentially could be in danger because of what he's doing. Now, breach of the peace, for those of you who do not know, is a common law concept which is used to prevent unlawful violence against people or property. We are all bound to keep the peace and prevent breach of the peace. Even you watching this. Peace in this context refers to the Queen's peace and should be taken to mean the opposite of war. However, it is now widely accepted that the correct definition for breach of the peace is that which was given in the case R.V. Howell, 1981, i.e. that the behaviour of the person involved caused the police officer or private citizen to believe that a breach of the peace had or would occur, and that it related to harm which was actually done or likely to be done to a person or, in his or her presence, their property. Which, based on News Now Yorkshire's behaviour regarding landing the drone, is completely absurd, as he was being cautious and even explained to the fat whopper that he was being careful to avoid any danger. The police constable also admits that he didn't even know there was a drone in the air, which again demolishes the police's excuse that they had received reports. The plot then says that if there's no aviation breaches, then we'll go for breach of the peace because he is going to continue doing it. Now, can you imagine a child flying a kite near a police station? Easy enough to fit a small camera on. Would they behave this way as well, breach of the peace in those circumstances? While PC Peppa Pig is still trying to find an offence or imagine one up from somewhere, he's getting information through his earpiece from someone telling him questions to ask. Which, to be fair, reminds me of Ant and Dec's Get Me Out of Here, where a celeb, or in this case a Porky Plod, is told what to say and do through his earpiece. Which, let's face it, in both scenarios, is comical. Later in the video, the police constable explains that he again suspects that News Now Yorkshire is potentially engaging in terrorist activities. Now, the legislation is quite clear. There is only the reasonable suspicion that a person is a terrorist, not reasonably suspects that he may potentially be a terrorist. And I think it would be important for the police to remember that. He then goes on to mock News Now Yorkshire about his knowledge of the law, suggesting that he has read something somewhere about the law, but it's incorrect, whilst all the time being told himself what to ask whilst unlawfully detaining a member of the public for a potential offence that he's not even sure he suspects him or not. I mean, this is comedy gold. Eventually, one butthurt copper says, right, I'm just going to lock him up for breach of the peace before reading him his rights, and then sit him in a van for some time before transporting him to another police station. No doubt discussing with his colleagues how to explain this one away to the custody sergeant. Sometime later, News Now Yorkshire is released and films himself walking back past where he was arrested, explaining that he was arrested to prevent a breach of the peace, which, in my opinion, was committed by the police constable, based on the legislation. Bearing in mind that breach of the peace is not a criminal offence, it is not punishable either by a fine or imprisonment, and proceedings for breach of the peace do not give rise to a conviction. An offender can only be bound over to keep the peace for a set amount of time, and any breach of that binding over then becomes a finable or imprisonable offence. It's a very interesting video, and I'm going to link to it in the description. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Big thank you to channel supporters, especially these guys. Your support is truly appreciated. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.